sanctions if Russia decides to move forward with the invasion. So please, if you would like, repeat after me. Thank you, USA! Thank you, USA! Thank you, USA! Thank you, USA! Thank you, USA!
Thank you, USA! Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you all for coming out today. We're about to start our program. I want to first introduce myself to some of the organizers. My name is Yaroslav Hetman. I'm part of the Ukrainian community here. I'm supporters. With us also today, we have supporters from Georgia. We have supporters from Kazakhstan. We have supporters from Belarus. We have supporters from the Free Russia Foundation. Thank you all for coming out.
From Lithuania. From Lithuania. From Lithuania.
We also have supporters
Как
from
мы
the Baltic
можем
states
так?
and many others
Спасибо, у
who
меня
are all
флаг.
facing the same totalitarian regime, the regime of Vladimir Putin. To give you a little bit of an explanation of the agenda for today, for the next 40 or so minutes, we will have speakers. Speakers from all of these different organizations share their thoughts and their work about what the current situation is and what can be done. After that, we will have a series of chants and an ability to express your feelings and an opportunity to influence the Biden administration and, of course, to help educate the public around. After that, we will have a closing prayer, and certainly anyone who would like to stay will be here until about 4 o'clock. We have 3:30, but first, we would like to start with the national anthem of Ukraine. Because right now, that is where the biggest crisis is. We are aware that there's a crisis that's constantly moving everywhere that Vladimir Putin hasn't reached. But right now, we are here to support specific actions for Ukraine from the Biden administration. So please join us in honoring Ukraine.
Згинуть наші рожеві, як роса на сонці. Душу тіло положить за нашу свободу і покаже, що ми браття козацького роду. Душу тіло ми положим за нашу свободу і покаже, що ми браття козацького роду.
Слава Україні!
A famous philosopher, George Santayana, once said, "Those who do not learn from history will live to repeat it." Or, I'm sorry, are doomed to repeat it. I'd like to tell you two stories from history today. The first story is in 1931, when the Empire of Japan took over parts of Manchuria from China. The rest of the world stood silent. In 1933, Japan started an entire war in China, and still the world stood silent. I'm sorry, would you guys mind turning that off? Germany, in the same time period. Sorry about that. Germany, in the same time period, in 1936, decided to annex a part of the Rhineland, and the world stood silent. In 1938, Hitler decided to further take over Czechoslovakia, and the democratic world decided, that's okay, we're not going to stand up to it. Let that policy of appeasement continue. I think we all know how that ended. Well, in 1939, Hitler decided to invade Poland, and then the rest of Europe. And in 1941, Japan went on to bomb Pearl Harbor and bring this country into the war. And the lesson here is this. When dictatorial regimes start making actions like this, initially, it's like treating cancer. The earlier in the stage you start opposing cancer, the less costly and the less painful the treatment. By allowing these two dictators to continue their actions, it only led to a further problem. The second story I'd like to tell you is that about a new democracy that was forming. This democracy had people willing to fight, had people willing to stand up for its rights. But they had one problem. The dictator they were opposed to was very well armed and organized, and yet they lacked any of the supplies necessary to fight. The year was 1775, and as many of you might have guessed, we're talking about the United States of America. But there was a brave man from France named Marquis de Lafayette. He was only a 19-year-old lieutenant, and he went back to France after seeing what was happening in the United States, and he petitioned the King of France to support the United States. It's a little known fact, but 90% of all the gunpowder that was used in the American Revolution by the United States came from France, as well as the uniforms and most of the rifles. The point is, one man, Marquis de Lafayette, was able to make an impact, was able to make a difference, and help an entire people stand up for itself, help an entire nation gain its freedom. And today, as we stand, this is called Lafayette Park, in honor of Marquis de Lafayette. Everything you see behind you and around you can be attributed to France helping the United States in a time of great need. So today, the lesson for the Biden administration is to take a look at the first story. The story of what happened with Japan and what happened with Germany pre-World War II. Because the Biden administration has a choice. Either take a stronger stance now and stop some of the aggression, or wait until the consequences get more and more serious, and wait until the way to solve this problem becomes more and more difficult and more painful. For all of you, the lesson comes from the second story. Yes, we are all individuals. You could say that we don't have a lot of power. When I look around, there's probably 50 or 60. But you look at Marquis de Lafayette and the impact he alone was able to make. Each and every one of you, by coming out here today, by braving the cold, you guys have a little bit of Marquis de Lafayette in you. Thank you. Thank you for taking a stand. Thank you for taking a stand for freedom, for democracy. This movement today, we are asking for three things from the Biden administration. The first, we would like to express the unity that we have between the Ukrainian community, the Georgia, the Baltic states, Kazakhstan, and Free Russia Foundation. We stand united to express our support for the crisis that is happening in Ukraine and in Eastern Europe. The whole world is watching, not just the US and Europe, but China as well, because they are also looking at aggressive policies in the South China Sea and others. So these are our two demands today from the Biden administration. The first, to take meaningful and potent sanctions now to express them as a deterrent against Vladimir Putin's further aggression. By this, we specifically ask for the United States to stand with the UK and demand Russia to be cut off from the SWIFT payment system. The second request is to help Ukraine immediately with potent and meaningful weapons to defend itself. We are grateful for all of the support thus far, but we know that Ukraine needs much more to be able to deter itself against the aggression of Vladimir Putin. Just like the United States in 1776 lacked the arms and the gunpowder to defend itself, Ukraine today is a strong country and is willing to fight, but it needs those resources. It is my pleasure now to introduce to you Georgi Lomaya from the Georgian community. And I would invite Georgi to say a few words as well. Please help me with a round of applause for Georgi Lomaya.
Good afternoon. Today we have gathered in front of the White House to support free and independent Ukraine in face of an imminent Russian aggression. For over 4 months now, 100,000 plus Russian military has encircled Ukraine, undergoing training, getting enforcement that involves heavy artillery, warships and aircraft on a daily basis, threatening to invade any day now. Russia effectively is holding Ukraine at a gunpoint and by extension holding the entire Eastern Europe at a gunpoint. And the question we must ask ourselves is why? What has Ukraine done to deserve such treatment from Russia? What exactly is Ukraine's fault? And the answer to this question, as simple as it might be, is hard to comprehend to any civilized person. Ukraine simply wants to be an independent nation that gets to dictate its own fate. And not long ago, Georgia was in the same shoes. In 2008, Georgia wanted to be free and independent, to dictate its own fate. And Russia invaded us.
Are you guys speaking together?
And then because of the toothless sanctions at the time, Russia had the audacity to continue its rage and invaded parts of Ukraine in 2014 and then continued to hold a hybrid war
For this
ever
event,
since.
we have the message.
Dear friends,
It's on the message.
this is a tipping point for a rules-based world as we know it. It is time for the Western world to stand tall and stand firm against the Russian aggression.
Volume.
Giving up even 1 inch of Ukraine now would give green light to all of the authoritarian regimes around the world to go ahead and invade their smaller or weaker neighbors. And we cannot allow that. Georgian community stands with the Ukrainian people. Millions of Georgian men and women are praying and thinking about Ukraine. Hundreds of Georgians have fought alongside Ukrainians and given up their lives in Ukraine, as have Ukrainians in Georgia in 90s and in 2008. And please do not judge Georgia based on our government's reaction and silence. One can not expect better from a government that is stealing elections and imprisoning their political prisoners, such as President Saakashvili. We must remember that it is not the actions that the United States takes after Russia invades Ukraine that matter, but it is the actions that the United States takes now to prevent aggression in Ukraine and destabilization of Ukraine. The people of Ukraine and people of Georgia have spoken clear and loud that the surest way to avoid conflict and destabilization in the region is by accepting Ukraine and Georgia in NATO now, by imposing severe financial sanctions to Putin personally and financial institutions in Russia, and by building out defensive capabilities of Ukraine, and stopping Nord Stream 2 pipeline. Time for sanctions is now. Time for action is now. Putin, hands off Ukraine.
Putin, hands off
Ukraine! Ukraine!
Slava Ukraini! Freedom will prevail.
Freedom will prevail!
Thank you, Georg.
Thank you.
The next speaker is also from the Ukrainian community. She is a co-organizer and president of United Help Ukraine. Joining her will be another member, Ilona. But I'd like to introduce you to Marina Baidu.
Hello, friends. Hello, supporters of Ukraine. We gathered here for. I just want to see everyone, so I'm gonna stand here so I can see everyone. Okay. We gathered here today to say no to Putin aggression. We're here to ask President Biden's administration to stand with Ukraine and provide full support to Ukrainian government. This is a crucial time in Ukrainian history. I just want to ask you all one question. Why are you here? What brings you here today? And that is the question each Ukrainian has been asking for the past 8 years when we started Maidan in Kyiv, Ukraine, fighting corrupt regime, fighting Putin, who annexed Crimea then, who started the war in Ukraine 8 years ago. Nothing has changed. The war is going on right now. Every day, every single day, there are casualties in the front lines at eastern border. We don't want bloodshed. We want peace. We want prosperity for Ukraine. We want to see democratic Ukraine now. Why are we here? Because we share the same values that all Ukrainians do. We want peace as much as they do. We want to see our country, because many of us are from Ukraine, we want to see our country prosperous, independent from Russia. We don't want Putin's regime, Putin's government in Ukraine. That's what we're trying to do, to establish empire. We're here to say no to Putin's empire. And we're here to ask U.S. government and our friends to stand with Ukraine today. Thank you all for coming. And on behalf of United Help Ukraine, I want to thank you all for supporting Ukraine today, tomorrow, and every day. Right now, I want to introduce Ilona Dorfler, who is also a member of United Help Ukraine. She's been an organizer behind protests right here at this very spot 8 years ago, in 2014, when we Ukrainian activists were protesting annexion of Crimea, when we're protesting a war in Donbass. Here we are again, protesting the war and full invasion in Ukraine. Ilona, please say a few words. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Marina. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
So, to continue on what Marina said, 8 years later, Putin, drunk with impunity, raises the stakes and prepares for the final solution of the Ukrainian question. Putin is not afraid of NATO. It's just an excuse. Putin is afraid of prosperous, free and democratic Ukraine. Putin is afraid of successful, active civil society next door to Russia. Because Ukrainians can show the other way to people of Russia and Belarus. The way towards freedom, democracy, respect for human rights and human dignity. The path away from corrupt, totalitarian, oppressive Putin's regime. We hear that Russian Federation will pay a high price if it renews its invasion into Ukraine. But high price is not enough if Russia can afford it. The price must be unbearable for Russian Federation and devastating, even fatal for Putin's regime. Ukraine must be saturated with defensive weapons, and Putin's regime must be crippled with meaningful sanctions. So far, all the Ukrainians are paying unbelievable price by losing the best, the bravest men and women in meaningless and unjust war. The war that was guaranteed never to happen when Ukraine signed Budapest Memorandum in 1994. All signers of that memorandum, UK, USA, Russia, took individual guarantees to respect Ukraine. But also there is an implied collective responsibility to respect Ukraine's independence and Ukraine's borders. In light of the recent events, United States, United Kingdom, Canada step up to its role as leaders of reform. With these shipments to Ukraine of modern defensive weapons, we here talk about pending sanctions. And again, I want to say thank you, USA, but it's not enough yet. Not yet. Ukraine still needs to increase its defense capacities to protect itself in the sky, on the sea, and on the land. So please, do not stop. More arms for Ukraine. More arms for Ukraine before it's too late. We must stay shoulder by shoulder with Ukraine until Ukraine is threatened no more. We're not bloodthirsty. Russia has a choice, Ukraine does not. If Russia backs off its attack, there will be peace in Europe. If Ukraine backs off in its defense, Ukraine will exist no more. So please stay strong, stay firm, stand with Ukraine. God bless America, and God save Ukraine. Slava Ukraini!
Героям слава!
Thank you, Ilona. Thank you, Marina. Our next speaker is from representing the Kazakhstan community. I would like to introduce you to Aidana Abulazova, one of the organizers for the Kazakh protests recently and a member of the Kazakh diaspora.
Thank you, Yaron. I'm speaking today on behalf of Kazakh diaspora in USA to support Ukraine, to support Belarus, to support Georgia, and every country that has been tormented by dictators and their cronies. Kazakhstan has been under Nazarbayev's regime for 30 years, and now Tokayev, his follower, wants to rule the country for another 30 years with Putin's help. Tokayev will not bring change or any kind of reform in Kazakhstan. He's following Putin, he's following Nazarbayev's steps and protecting them at all costs, instead of protecting their own people. Putin, Nazarbayev, Tokayev, and other dictators need to answer for their crimes. All these dictators have been robbing and killing their own people. They're traitors, they're killers, and you don't deserve to be a part of the future of our country. We need to stand up against them, together, united, and fight the regime for those who sacrifice their lives for our country. Kazakh people demand sanctions, financial and personal, on Putin, Nazarbayev, Tokayev. Our countries won't be free till the dictators are gone. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Aidana. And again, to reinforce, this isn't just a group of Ukrainians. This is a group of everyone united against the same dictatorial regime. It is my pleasure to introduce to you our next speaker. His name is Anatoly Vyshkov. He is also a member of the Ukrainian diaspora and the Ukrainian community here in Washington, D.C. Anatoly.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Anatoly Vyshkov. Just like you, I am here because I want to do something for the people of Ukraine, including my parents and my sister who live there. They are in grave danger as Putin builds up his troops and weapons on Ukraine's borders. Today, we are here to ask the President of the United States to supply Ukraine with effective defense weapons and prepare and reveal the harsher sanctions it will impose if Russia attacks, including cutting SWIFT off of Russia. This is the least the U.S. could do, but it could and should do more. And I would like to ask for your help to spread the word that the U.S. should honor the promise to defend Ukraine that the U.S. gave to Ukraine in the Budapest Memorandum. In that document, signed in 1994, Ukraine agreed to give up its massive nuclear arsenal in exchange for security assurances by the U.S., Russia, and the United Kingdom. Those assurances included respecting Ukraine's territorial sovereignty, not using force against Ukraine, and getting the United Nations involved if Ukraine is attacked. But in that document, the U.S. never explicitly promised that they will defend Ukraine from attack. However, I think the U.S. made an implicit promise to defend Ukraine in that memorandum, and I'm here to implore the U.S. to honor that promise and defend Ukraine now. If you think of it, this promise is like the promise this country gave to all of us. Think about it. Me, all of you are here because of a promise this country made to us. I came to the U.S. as a 16-year-old on my own, $20 and 10 words of English, attracted by the promise of the U.S. that here you can accomplish all you want, no matter who you are or where you're from, as long as you work hard. This is the same journey for all of you, or your parents, or your grandparents. They have taken the same journey. This country fulfilled its promise to us. It fulfilled it, although it didn't have to. We had no guarantees that we would succeed, but we trusted this country, that if we do our best, it will do its best for us. The U.S. didn't have to help millions of immigrants who came here with nothing, but hoped that this country would do them good, and it did. I can't help but wonder why this country won't help more my family and all the people of Ukraine now that they face great danger. It doesn't have to, of course, but I think it should, just like it helped us, just like us. Ukraine played by the rules, sincerely hoping that it's not by a clear written word, then by an implicit promise, the U.S. would take care of it after Ukraine gave up its nuclear weapons under the Budapest Memorandum. Just like us, Ukraine took the U.S. at its word that the U.S. would ensure that Ukraine is safe. It's more than any of us had when coming to this country. We didn't have anything in writing, but we thought that the U.S. did promise us something implicitly, and we worked hard in reliance on that promise. Similarly, Ukraine gave up its nuclear weapons, which would come in handy in 2014 when Putin attacked Crimea and Donbass, or now, to deter Putin. We gave up nuclear weapons in reliance on America's promise to make sure Ukraine is safe. So the U.S. needs to help Ukraine now, urgently. I ask you to spread the word with your friends, colleagues, elected officials, clergy, media, and anyone who would listen, that the U.S. has a moral obligation to meaningfully help Ukraine and defend its people. Ukraine needs more weapons to defend itself. Hard sanctions to deter Russia. That's the least the U.S. can do, but the U.S. can do more. Thank you for listening and joining us today. Your families, your countries, America, be safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Anatoly. Our next speaker is Dmitry Valuyev, representing the Free Russia Foundation. Dmitry is the Community Development and Outreach Coordinator, and he has stood with us also shoulder to shoulder for many of these protests. This goes to show you that this is not a fight against Russia and Russians. This is a fight against Vladimir Putin and his dictatorial regime. So Dmitry, thanks for your support.
Thank you, Yara. And thank you everybody who came today. My name is Dmitry Valuyev, and I'm a coordinator of Free Russia Foundation, a US-based human rights organization. And I represent all pro-democracy Russians in the United States. There are many of us, not just myself, and many pro-democracy Russians in the world who support Ukraine. We stand with you. We are with you. We want Ukraine to be free, democratic. We want Russia to be friends with Ukraine. For many countries around the world, unfortunately, this flag, Russian flag, is a flag of war. This is the flag of Putin's invasion in Georgia, Putin's annexation of Crimea, Putin's war in Donbass, Putin's war crimes in Syria, and Putin's meddling in Kazakhstan. This is the flag of Putin's private military companies in Africa, like Wagner. A flag of cybercrime, wolf farms, and disinformation. But as a Soviet dissident once said, without me, my country is not complete. Without me, this is not Putin's flag. This is not a flag of war. Because I'm Russian and I am against Putin's aggression in Ukraine. I am Russian and I am against Putin's aggression in Georgia, in Kazakhstan, in Syria, cyber wars, cyber crimes, disinformation, and private military in Africa. And there are many of us in the United States, in Europe, in Australia, in Asia. There are many Russians in exile, many Russians who live in other countries, and there are many Russians in Russia who are the same as me. There are many more Russians now in Russia who don't support Putin and don't support his aggressive actions. As an example, last year, Putin's party, United Russia, did not gain enough votes in parliament to secure the majority of votes to be the major party in Russian parliament. Only massive falsifications allowed United Russia to remain the majority. Only massive falsifications, repressions, and meddling with data in electronic vote. Early in 2021, hundreds of thousands of Russians protested against Putin's dictatorship in many countries, not just in Moscow or St. Petersburg, from Vladivostok to Kaliningrad. In many countries, in many cities in Siberia, in Khabarovsk, Irkutsk, Krasnoyarsk, Novosibirsk. People were against Putin. People are tired of Putin's ruling. There are many more Russians who want Putin to go, who want Russia to be free, democratic, and independent, who want Russia to have good relationships with people in Ukraine, in Georgia, in Kazakhstan, in Baltic countries, in Syria, and Western democracy. We want to be integrated in a free market, in a free world. We want to have peace with our neighbors. And again, it's not just me saying that. I know for a fact there are many Russians with Ukrainians in other countries who support free democratic Ukraine. So I am saying that for the West, it's time to break ties with Putin. Stop supporting his projects like Nord Stream 2. Start sanctioning Putin. Start supporting a failing dictator. And start supporting free and democratic Russia. And there are many of us, many of us. Again, Slava Ukraini, Slava Грузии, Slava Syrii, свободной и демократической, Slava всем демократическим странам. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for standing up to Putin's aggression. It's time to act, and we are acting up with you. Slava Ukraini!
Героям слава! Thank you, Denise. Our next speaker, again representing the unity of all the different republics and peoples gathered. It is my pleasure to present to you Denise Baranov, representing the community of Belarus.
Добрий день.
Голосніше просто.
Добрий день, шановні друзі та сусіди. Дякуємо вам, що запросили нас до вас. When I look around, I see all the flags from the countries that rose on the remains of the Soviet Empire. And it's really crazy that today is more than 30 years since the Soviet Union fell, and we're still fighting Russian imperialism. The 30 years have been tough. We set the line in the sand in 91. We said we want to be independent, we said we wanted to be neighbors, and we said that we want to be free. And yes, for 30 years, Russia has been trying to influence our politics, to take over our lands, and to put their ways in our lives. This has to stop. We've been trying to do this for not just 30 years. It's actually been 200 years since Russia took over many of our lands in their expansion. The Tsar and the Emperor are done. The communists came, and we're still not done 30 years after the communists have left. Today we have the international community to support us, and it is extremely important for the United States, the European Union, and every other democratic country in the world to help us fight the Russian aggression. We in Belarus are very, very worried that Lukashenko, in his desire to stay in power, is paying off for the money he's getting from Putin with the ability to attack Ukraine from our land. Belarus does not want to be involved in Putin's war. Belarus doesn't want to attack its friends and neighbors. This is not our way of life. We want to be free, and we want to have a democracy in our country. But just like in Ukraine, Putin gets his hands in Belarus. And we're very glad that we are not alone in this fight, and that we're joined by our friends from Ukraine, from Georgia, from Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, and everybody else who's here. And we all of us, all the diasporas living in the U.S., must join together and show to the United States government that we're not just immigrants, that we are active members of the American community, and we want to make use of all the tools that we have available as Americans, as hyphenated Americans, to make sure that our homelands are protected, that our homelands are free, and that Putin gets what he actually deserves, jail time. Not a seat in Kremlin. Putin needs to go to jail for everything that he has done over the 20 years he has been in power to all of the countries in the world. Not just in the former USSR, but in Syria and Africa and elsewhere. And it's very good that we all are slowly working towards this goal of working together and getting stronger. So thank you for coming. Thanks for having us. І слава Україні!
Thank you. Our next speaker, representing Lithuanian Americans here. It is my pleasure to introduce to you Diana Viduchich.
Thank you.
Yes, up to your mouth.
It happened in Vilnius, Lithuania in November 2013 at a meeting of the European Union that Ukraine's President Viktor Yanukovych turned away from the European Union and caved in to Putin's pressure. Lithuanians have been supportive of Ukraine ever since. This sign was made 8 years ago, and we have been marching in support of Ukraine's independence ever since. I am happy to report that the United States State Department is allowing Lithuania to give its Stinger missiles and its infantry equipment to Ukraine to fight against Russian oppression. We understand that our independence is only as secure as the independence of our neighbors. Slava Ukraini.
Героям слава!
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. I'm Nadia Shaparinska, the president of U.S.-Ukrainian Activists. This is non-profit organization in Washington, D.C. Thank you so very much for coming, everyone, and supporting Ukraine today. 8 years ago, Russia violated the 1994 Budapest Memorandum and invaded Ukraine. First, the next Ukrainian Crimea, and then it started the war in Donbass, in eastern Ukraine, which resulted in more than 13,000 dead. This war has now been going on for 8 years. We all came today to the White House to remind the American government again about the support of the territorial integrity of Ukraine according to the 1994 Budapest Memorandum on Security Assurance. We are grateful to the American government for their support so far, and we gather today to request stop Russian aggression, freedom in Ukraine, security in Europe, support Ukraine with more meaningful weapons now, impose sanctions on banks, on Russia's banks to cut from SWIFT, impose sanctions on Nord Stream 2 pipeline, include Ukraine in Georgia in NATO now. Ukrainians will always remember the sacrifices of the brave Ukrainian men and women who died defending their motherland against Russia's invasion over the last 8 years. Glory to Ukraine and glory to Ukrainian heroes who died for Ukrainian freedom. Slava Ukraini! Героям слава! Now, Father Volodymyr from St. Andrew's Ukrainian Church in Silver Spring, Maryland, Washington, D.C. area.
Would you like me to hold the mic for you?
Good afternoon. I'm here to offer my prayers on behalf of my Metropolitan Anthony and my parish community here. We are good people, peaceful people, loving people, and with God, I think we will prevail in achieving peace in Ukraine and on the world. Let us pray. Great and Almighty God, we, your children, turn to you with humility in our hearts and bow our heads low before you. We beseech your loving kindness and abundant blessings upon the nation, the people, the Ukrainian people during this great and dangerous days. Our brothers and sisters, Lord, are once again threatened by aggressions who see them only as simple obstacles blocking the path of the complete domination of the precious land and resources of the country of Ukraine. Strengthen the people as they face this great danger, turning to you in the immeasurable depth of faith, trust, love they have placed in you and all their lives. Send your heavenly legion, so Lord, command by the patron of Kiev, Archangel Michael, to crush the desires of the aggressors whose desire is to eradicate your people. Grant unity of mind, heart, and soul, O Lord, to all leaders in public service with those they serve. Unite them all in one great Christian family so that they together as brothers and sisters, they may glorify your majestic name in the name of the Holy Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Amen. God bless you all. Thank you.
Дуже дякую. Thank you. At this point, we would like to transition from our speaking agenda to transition to a series of chants, to have our voice heard and to show support. Before then, I'd also like to make a special thank you to the members of the media. You are our voice. You are our opportunity to speak to the wider public. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for your support. Stop Russian aggression.
Stop Russian aggression.
Support Ukraine.
Support Ukraine.
Stop Russian aggression.
Stop Russian aggression.
Provide meaningful weapons now.
Provide meaningful weapons now.
Impose sanctions that will act as a deterrent.
Impose sanctions that will act as a deterrent.
Cut Russia from SWIFT if it invades Ukraine.
Cut Russia from SWIFT if it invades Ukraine.
Stop Russian aggression.
Stop Russian aggression.
Support Ukraine.
Support Ukraine!
Freedom isn't free.
Freedom isn't free.
Support Ukraine.
Support Ukraine!
Freedom isn't free.
Freedom isn't free.
Help Ukraine defend itself.
Help Ukraine defend itself.
Support Ukraine.
Support Ukraine!
Stop Russian aggression.
Stop Russian aggression.
Stop Russian aggression.
Stop Russian aggression.
Take action now.
Take action now.
Support Ukraine.
Support Ukraine.
Stand up to Putin.
Stand up to Putin.
Take action now.
Take action now.
Stand up to Putin.
Stand up to Putin.
Provide Ukraine with meaningful defensive weapons.
Provide Ukraine with meaningful defensive weapons.
Support Ukraine.
Support Ukraine.
Take action now.
Take action now.
Stop Russian aggression.
Stop Russian aggression.
Support Ukraine.
Support Ukraine.
Support all of the free democratic world that is against Putin's aggression. Create shorter chants.
Create shorter chants.
Support Ukraine.
Support Ukraine.
Stop Russian aggression.
Stop Russian aggression.
Provide meaningful defensive weapons.
Provide meaningful defensive weapons.
Support Ukraine.
Support Ukraine.
Stop Russian aggression.
Stop Russian aggression.
Support Ukraine.
Support Ukraine.
Sanction Nord Stream 2.
Sanction Nord Stream 2.
Putin is a war criminal.
Putin is a war criminal.
Support Ukraine.
Support Ukraine.
Stop Russian aggression.
Stop Russian aggression.
Support Ukraine.
Support Ukraine.
Stop Russian aggression.
Stop Russian aggression.
Impose meaningful sanctions.
Impose meaningful sanctions.
Support Ukraine.
Support Ukraine.
Stop Russian aggression.
Stop Russian aggression.
Defend democracy now.
Defend democracy now.
Stop Russian aggression.
Stop Russian aggression.
Support Ukraine.
Support Ukraine.
Stop Russian aggression.
Stop Russian aggression.
Sanction Nord Stream 2.
Sanction Nord Stream 2.
Support Ukraine.
Support Ukraine.
Stop Russian aggression.
Stop Russian aggression.
Stand up to Putin.
Stand up to Putin.
Stop Russian aggression.
Stop Russian aggression.
Support Ukraine.
Support Ukraine.
Provide meaningful defensive weapons.
Provide meaningful defensive weapons.
Sanction Nord Stream 2.
Sanction Nord Stream 2.
Sanction SWIFT for Russia.
Sanction SWIFT for Russia.
Support Ukraine.
Support Ukraine.
Stop Russian aggression.
Stop Russian aggression.
Support Ukraine.
Support Ukraine.
Sanction Nord Stream 2.
Sanction Nord Stream 2.
Support Ukraine.
Support Ukraine.
Freedom isn't free.
Freedom isn't free.
Support Ukraine.
Support Ukraine.
Stop Russian aggression.
Stop Russian aggression.
Support Ukraine.
Support Ukraine.
Provide meaningful defensive weapons.
Provide meaningful defensive weapons.
Stand up to Putin.
Stand up to Putin.
Support Ukraine.
Support Ukraine.
Stand up to Putin.
Stand up to Putin.
Stop Russian aggression.
Stop Russian aggression.
Support Ukraine.
Support Ukraine.
Send meaningful defensive weapons.
Send meaningful defensive weapons.
Support Ukraine.
Support Ukraine.
Stop Russian aggression.
Stop Russian aggression.
Support Ukraine.
Support Ukraine.
Ladies and gentlemen, we would also like to read to you a statement that we just received from Senator Raskin in Maryland. He sends regret that he wasn't able to attend himself, but he asked us to read a statement from his office in support.
Congressman Jamie Raskin, representing Maryland 8th District. He couldn't make it today, but we were in touch with his office, and he sent the following statement. The Ukrainian people have struggled hard for their country's independence and democracy. They should be able to pursue their dreams and hopes without constant fear of Russian invasion and manipulation to override their sovereignty. It is imperative we de-escalate the current crisis. Fortunately, there is still time for diplomacy and effectuation of a peaceful resolution. The United States should continue working around the clock with our allies and coalition partners to forge a path away from crisis and towards peace and regional security. To all my friends in the Ukrainian American community across Maryland's 8th Congressional District and across the United States, I thank you for your strength and perseverance in this difficult time. We're grateful to Congressman Raskin and appreciate his support of Ukraine and the United States efforts. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for coming today. Slava Ukraini! Slava Ukraini! Slava Ukraini! Support Ukraine now! Support Ukraine now! Support Ukraine now! Support Ukraine now! Hands off Ukraine! Hands off Ukraine! Putin, 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 war criminal! Putin, war criminal! Putin, war criminal! Putin, war criminal! Support Ukraine now! Support Ukraine now! Stand with Ukraine! 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 No to war! No to war! No to war! No to war! No to war in Ukraine! 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 Support Ukraine now! Support Ukraine now! Cut off SWIFT to Russia! 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 Sanctions now! Sanctions now! Sanctions now! Sanctions now! Sanctions now! Sanctions now! U.S. support Ukraine! 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 We stand together! 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 Cut off SWIFT for Russia! 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 Cut off off SWIFT for Russia.
Cut off SWIFT for Russia.
Glory to Ukraine.
Glory to Ukraine.
Glory to Ukraine.
Glory to Ukraine. Stop Russian aggression. Stop Russian aggression. Freedom in Ukraine, security in Europe. Freedom in Ukraine, security in Europe.
Freedom in
Ukraine, security in Europe. Defense Ukraine now.
Defend Ukraine now.
Support Ukraine with more meaningful military weapons. Support Ukraine with more meaningful military weapons. Sanction Russian banks to cut from SWIFT. Sanction Russian banks to cut from SWIFT.
Russian banks cut off from SWIFT.
Sanction Nord Stream 2 pipeline.
Sanction Nord Stream 2!
Pipeline.
Including Nord Stream 2. Sanction Nord Stream 2.
Sanction Nord Stream 2!
Include Ukraine in Georgia and NATO now. Stop Russian aggression.
Stop Russian aggression!
Freedom in Ukraine, security in Europe.
Freedom in Ukraine, security in Europe!
Defense Ukraine now.
Defend Ukraine now!
More meaningful weapons now.
More meaningful weapons now!
Sanction Russian banks now.
Sanction Russian banks now!
Sanction Nord Stream 2 pipeline now.
Sanction Nord Stream 2 now!
Pipeline now.
Include Ukraine and Georgia in NATO now.
Ladies and gentlemen, now we have a show compliments of the Russian embassy. Let's applaud.
Stop Russian aggression.
Stop Russian aggression.
Stop Russian aggression.
Stop Russian aggression.
Freedom in Ukraine, security in Europe.
Freedom in Ukraine, security in Europe.
Defense Ukraine now.
Defend Ukraine now.
Sanction Russian banks to cut from SWIFT.
Sanction Russian banks cut from SWIFT.
Sanction Nord Stream 2 pipeline.
Sanction Nord Stream 2 pipeline.
Include Ukraine and Georgia in NATO now.
Include Ukraine and Georgia in NATO now.
Freedom in Ukraine.
Freedom in Ukraine.
Defense Ukraine now.
Defend Ukraine now.
Stop Russian aggression.
Stop Russian aggression.
Provide Ukraine more meaningful weapons.
Provide Ukraine more meaningful weapons.
Sanction Russia's banks.
Sanction Russian banks.
Sanction Nord Stream 2 now.
Sanction Nord Stream 2 now.
Freedom in Ukraine, security in Europe.
Freedom in Ukraine, security in Europe.
Include Ukraine and Georgia in NATO now.
Ukraine in NATO now. Ukraine in NATO now.
NATO now.
More arms to Ukraine.
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 Stop Putin's aggression.
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 High price is not enough.
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 Stand strong, stand free, stand with Ukraine.
Stand strong, stand free, stand with Ukraine.
Stand Sanction Russian banks to cut from SWIFT.
Sanction Russian banks to cut from SWIFT.
Defend Ukraine now.
Defend Ukraine now.
Stop Russian aggression.
Stop Russia's aggression.
Include Ukraine and Georgia in NATO now.
Include Georgia and Ukraine in NATO now.
Oh.